there. I'm sure you're like saying, what? I know it's 6:30. And I just felt like, okay, no, let me just honor, really, because yes, we may have things that are happening in our lives, but sometimes those things are really a distraction. Thank you. So today we are looking at the story of Noah. Remember, we're still continuing with our faith story. Faith is the confidence of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So it is just believing that what you are hoping for will happen, even though it has not happened. It is believing that God is telling the truth when He says He's going to make happen or make come true whatever promise He has given. So today we're just going to talk about the story of Noah. I'm going to be reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 9 up to verse 22. And then we're also going to just go through to the book of Hebrew. And read the book of Hebrew. Let me just quickly go there. And read there from chapter 17, just verse 7. That's only going to read verse 7. So the book of Genesis, the story of Noah. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, meaning that he was in good standing with God. The only blameless person living on earth at the time, and he walked in close fellowship with God. This is very important. Noah walked in close fellowship with God. Noah was the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now God saw that the earth had become corrupt and was filled with violence. God observed all this corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. So God said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all living creatures. Imagine God coming to you and telling you this. Because remember, at that time, God was appearing to people via angels or in dreams. So imagine God telling you that He's decided to destroy the earth. And I'm sure Noah at this time was like asking himself, did I hear right? Did I hear right? Is this for real? So God says, I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. Build a large boat. Now God is telling Noah, He's giving him instructions. Even though the Bible is not telling us exactly how God appeared to him, whether it was from a dream or he was visited by an angel. So, but I'm sure at this point now he's taking notes, he's writing things down, because otherwise he's going to forget the instructions. So God tells him to build a large boat from cypress wood and waterproof it with tar, inside and out. Then construct decks and stalls throughout its interior. Make the boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Leave an 18-inch opening below the roof all the way around the boat. Put the door on the side and build 3 decks inside the boat, lower, middle, and upper. Look, I am about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die, but I will confirm my covenant with you. Covenant with God, we're also going to touch on that. God says, I will confirm my covenant with you. So enter the boat, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every kind of animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you to keep them alive during the flood. Pairs of every kind of bird and every kind of animal and every kind of small animal that scurries along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. and be sure to take on board enough food for your family and for all the animals. So Noah did everything exactly as God had commanded him. So we were reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 6, from verse 9 up to verse 22. We are now talking about the story of Noah. And remember, we are continuing with our series on faith. The last time, I think 2 weeks back, we spoke about the story of Abel. And why is the Bible saying Abel was a man of faith? Now, today we are talking about the story of Noah. And remember what we said faith was. Faith is the confidence of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So essentially, faith is just believing what God is telling you, that it is true. It is the way he says it is. That is what faith is. Even though you don't see him, but you believe that what he is telling you, it is that way. So now, Noah, the Bible, when it's open, the opening statement says, Noah was a righteous man with God, meaning that Noah was in right standing with God. And right standing does not mean that Noah had a perfect walk with God. It doesn't mean that. Right standing means you are obedient to God. You take your time to sit and talk and listen to God. And your heart just wants to please him because you know that he always has the best interest for you. So that is what right standing means. It's not what nowadays in church, like it's the things that people do, like this religion. Religion is like it's a ritual, or it's how you do it. It's how it like it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's a ritual. This is what I do. And you don't even move from what you are doing. And God, by religion, we're boxing God, and God cannot be boxed. What God did for Nonokazi, for instance, or for Dr. Zinzi, he might do it differently for me. So God does not mean he's going to do the exact same thing for every, like for similar requests. He's going to do like rules and regulations, yes. So he's going to do them according to how he sees fit at that point in time. He's not going to do it exactly the same way. So that is what religion does, but God is not like that. So God Noah is a righteous man with God. They have a good relationship. They understand each other. At this point, it seems like Noah, even when God appears to him with an instruction, whether he sends an angel or he just hears the voice of God, maybe it's in a dream or a vision. At this point in time, it seems like Noah is able to understand and interpret exactly, and he's even able to discern that who the person or the voice that I'm hearing currently is the voice of God. So that is how close Noah's relationship with God was. Now God tells him that, before he even tells him that I'm going to spare your life and your family, he just tells him that I have decided to wipe everything on earth. I'm going to start afresh. I'm going to wipe everything, people, the animals, the birds, everything on earth. I'm going to wipe it and start from scratch. So the previous verses, they tell us why God has come to this conclusion, or to this decision. He says that there was just sin all over earth. People were just living their lives in the most. They were not pleasing to God. The way people were living their lives, they were just sinning. So now God decides to say, I'm wiping everything. I'm wiping earth, everything. And now God gives Noah the instructions. He tells him the size of the boat, how big the boat must be, the material that he must use to build the boat. So put yourself in Noah's shoes and think to yourself, okay, I'm getting these instructions from the Holy Spirit. I don't see the person who's giving me these instructions. Think of the faith that it must have taken for Noah to believe that. And at this point in time, the Bible tells us that it has never rained. It has never rained. So the thing that God says is going to do, the thing that God says to Noah is going to do, Noah has never seen it before. It has never rained before. It's going to be the first time that it rains. He has never seen the rain. And yet, he takes down these instructions that God is giving him as if he has seen this thing before. I'm sure he must have jotted down each and every instruction, because now these instructions are quite specific in terms of the material that he must use to build the boat, and also the size of the boat, and even the animals. When God says, okay, you will bring a pair of each animal. Imagine, as Noah, putting yourself in his shoes and what must have been going on in his mind. Then now, later on, after God has told him that he's going to wipe the earth, and he must build a boat, and he must do it in his specific prescription, God's prescription, not our own. We like to twist God's instruction and make it our own prescription, and that does not show faith. Because when God, we have to do it exactly. We have to follow the exact prescripts of God. When God says do something, because he knows exactly why he says it must be done a specific way. So Noah now starts building. Noah. Then God tells him about the covenant he has. God tells him that I'm going to keep the covenant that I have with you. Covenant is an agreement that God has with you, with us, with his people, with his children, with his sons and daughters. So there's quite a number of covenants. God had a covenant with Abraham, and God said he will keep that covenant even on his offspring, his children. That's why he's God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, Isaac is the son of Abraham, and Jacob is the grandson of Abraham. He is Isaac's son. So, but God kept that covenant even to the grandchild of Abraham. That is how faithful he is, and that is how much he takes seriously the covenants that he has, or the agreements that he has with his people. So God has a covenant with Noah, and God says that covenant he's taking. He says that I'm going to keep that covenant. He says, I'm going to keep that covenant that I have with you. I'm going to keep that covenant that I have with you, so that I'm not writing it off. It still stands. And the Bible tells us that God is not a man that he should lie, and that he's not a son of man that he should change his mind. He never changes his mind, and he never lies. He keeps his word. As we see here, is him keeping his word with Noah also. So God keeps his word, and then now the ball starts running now. He says, okay, I'm going to spare your life, your wife, your 3 sons, and their wives. So can you see the covenant that you have with God also will benefit your children and their wives. And the Bible tells us that Noah did exactly as he was told by God. He was so obedient to the T. He was obedient to the T. He did exactly as God has instructed him. That is how much he believed. That is how much faith he had that what he had heard or what he felt that God was instructing him to do was exactly so. Even though he had never seen a drop of a rain before, but he believed that what I'm hearing really is God, and he is really telling me to do this. That's why he was obedient. And then the rest is history, because the rain came. It rained for 40 days, 40 nights, and Noah was there, I think, for 150 days on that boat, with all those different animals. So I just wanted to share today the story of Noah and his obedience. With the story of Noah, it shows us that when God gives you a word, he can give it to you via a vision, a dream, through an angel. You can sense it. Some of us can sense it. Some of us can hear an audible voice. And at times, maybe you want also to get a confirmation that what you heard was right, or also be able to discern if it was really God who said that. But God is able to give you those confirmations like he did with Gideon. And Gideon even asked for 2 confirmations. God gave him exactly those confirmations. So we are able to ask God for confirmations when we don't understand what the assignment is, and he's able to tell us. Again, he does not get irritated by us, but he will tell us exactly what he said before and how he wants that specific assignment to be done. So Noah was able to hear God giving him those instructions, and he wrote them. I'm sure he wrote them down, and he was obedient, that he did exactly what God said to him for him to do. And by him being obedient, his family and their wives, and his children and their wives, were spared also. It was not just Noah who was spared, because even though he's the one who was the righteous man, but those around him benefited from him having a close relationship with God. So imagine when you have a close relationship with God, that your children and their children also benefit from that. I want to talk more on this again. I'm going to create another video or a live talking about this, saying that a covenant that we have, or an agreement that we have with God, and how that can also benefit our children and their children, or our offspring. I hope today's word, before I go, let me just quickly read again what it says here in the book of Hebrew, chapter 11, verse 7. It was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. By his faith, Noah condemned the rest of the world, and he received the righteousness that comes with faith, by faith. I'm going to end it there. I hope it made sense. And I hope also you will be able to also in your own life be able to discern God's voice for yourself by being intentional and creating that environment, that relationship with him, where you create a space where you eliminate noise, so that you can have that one-on-one with him, and you sit in his first create that environment, that welcoming environment, whether it's worship and praise music, and then also you invite him in your space, and you tell him that he is welcome. And importantly, you listen. You're not just creating that environment so that you can just vent out, but you also give him space, or give him time to also tell you about your life, and you listen to him. That is how we get to have this right standing with God, when we create that environment where he knows that he is welcomed in our spaces, and that he is first in our lives. Thank you so much for joining me today. So next week we're going to talk about the story of Abraham, and how his faith was. Abraham is the Bible tells us that he's the